Hi everybody. In this video I'm going to show you how you can take lettering drawn in perspective and make it three-dimensional. So in other words, go from something like this to something like this, in which we have the letters using both vanishing points and two-point perspective, or really this method can apply to any type of perspective, 1, 2, 3-point perspective, and you can give your letters depth, volume, thickness to make them stand out. So first, a brief walkthrough of things we went over in the part 1 video to get us to this particular point in time. So I'm going to step back to just the building and notice how I first had to create a box in perspective in which I have divided up the box into equal pieces using vertical convergence to get the spacing for the vertical lines dividing up the rectangular box. So this was what was gone over in the part 1 video, so make sure you go back and review the part 1 video for details on how to do this. The next step then was to take those guidelines and use them to darken in each of the rectangles that are needed to inscribe the letters, and so we move from that step to this step. And then at this point you use those rectangles to inscribe the shape of each letter. And you can keep your shapes relatively boxy looking. I recommend that just for getting the thickness of them. And notice how the thickness of the height of the horizontal part of the T is the same thickness as the top of the O, the same thickness as the top of the S and as the top of that T, all because there's a line going straight back to that right-hand vanishing point delineating the thickness of the letters to keep them even across the board. So once you have used your vanishing point to sort of block in your letters, then you can kind of refine things a little bit. At this stage, if you wanted to, you could round the form of the O and the S to make the letters a little more natural looking, meaning a little more stylized, I guess would be the word, to give them a different style or a different font style. And then once you get to this stage, then it's a matter of making them three-dimensional. So first let me show you, demonstrate that with the T. So the first letter we have here is the T, and what we're going to need to do is use the left-hand vanishing point to give the T depth. So we're going to take lines from each of the corners of the T back to that vanishing point. Now the T has quite a number of corners. There's one at the top left, there's one here, another one here, another one down here, one right over here, this one here, but we don't really need to draw a line from that corner because that corner is going to be hidden. I'm assuming that we're making our letters three-dimensional and also opaque so that they are solid. And then we have another corner here. And again, this corner here is a hidden corner, so we don't need to draw a line from that corner. Then you need to cut off the back edges of those corners. And so what I recommend doing is taking lines to the right-hand vanishing point to get the depth. So first we ended up drawing a vertical line along here to cut off the back edge, and then notice how that creates another corner. And then we take that corner back to the right-hand vanishing point to cut off the bottom of that upper part of the T right here. And so it just continues in that way, basically drawing, it's like you're constructing three-dimensional boxes like that. So, and then the final result gets darkened in and you end up with a T shape that looks like this. So I'm going to just kind of walk through these steps a little bit here before I jump ahead, just to show you the process. I'm going to do that with the O and the Y. And so again, I'm going to find my corners and find out which corners are going to be visible. I'm pretty sure this corner here is going to be very much hidden. Yeah, pretty much that corner is very hidden. But then we have this corner right here that goes straight to the vanishing point, this corner here, another corner here, another one here. And if you rounded the shape of your O, these might not be corners, but you could still use the same process by drawing lines from the outer edges of the O on either side. There wouldn't be as many lines to draw, but the same process would work. Basically following from the outer edges and from the corners to basically give you're kind of extruding the shape out to the left to give it some depth. Okay, so then you need to move on to cutting off the sides of that those letters. So you decide how deep you need your letter to be, how much thickness and depth do you want it to have, and you kind of want things to be consistent across the board. So probably actually one method that I would recommend is once you've established the depth of your T shape, go ahead and take that line all the way across and use that to help you establish the depth for your O, because now you know that the O shape is going to be that particular depth on its inside because you want it to be the same depth as the T. Same thing with the bottom of the T. You've established its depth here, so take a line straight back to the right-hand vanishing point and use that to determine what the depth of the lower part of the O should be here. So now we're just tracing over our left-hand guidelines, and we are basically drawing lines parallel to the front face of the O to connect, to add the depth, and then connect the lines from the corners here going out to the left. So it's a process that does require a little bit of time, but it's definitely well worth it because you end up with results that definitely add depth and dimension and add extra detail to your drawing to make it look interesting. So it's basically drawing basic three-dimensional shapes in perspective, only they're shapes that are constructed out of various different shapes that are all different sizes. But with a little bit of practice, it will definitely be something that I think you'll enjoy. And of course, this is kind of what the final version is that you end up with from doing that.